Welcome to the Get It Done podcast, the podcast where I talk to business owners about their business, allowing them to share their story in business, allowing them to share what it is that they are doing, while also sharing their journey to getting to where they are today. The reasoning for the podcast, the goal for the podcast, my prayer for the podcast is that. Um, Someone listening, someone watching will be inspired to get up and do the thing that they have been absolutely terrified to do. I get to talk to a lot of people, and their goal is to start a business, but for whatever reason, they're just scared. So hopefully, this podcast will work to destroy the spirit of fear. Um, so basically, I am talking to people that I have never met before, for the most part. Some people I do know, very little people. But for the most part, I'm talking to people that I have never met before, never talked to. Um, and for me, this somehow um, just calls for a more interesting situation for me to talk to strangers about what it is that they are doing. So I will go ahead and add today's guest. Bianca. Hi, Bianca.
Hi, Erin. Thanks for having
How?
me.
Thanks for being here.
I'm happy to
So
be your
I'm.
new stranger.
Hello, stranger. We're friends now. um, I'll just let you go ahead and introduce yourself and tell us about your business.
Yeah. Hello, everybody. My name is Bianca Sprague, and I'm the founder of Babomia Inc. And I started Babomia almost 20 years ago. And
Congratulations.
I Thank you. And Babel Mia is an online school and community so that people can learn how to become a doula, a childbirth educator, a lactation educator, night nurse, like any of these amazing helping and healing fields for families going through their fertility, pregnancy, births, and the postpartum period. And I love I love your podcast, by the way. I think that
Thank you,
the
ma'am.
pace is like really fast and you draw out the information that lots of people, I think, who look at entrepreneurs would be curious about. And um, I started my business like I was scared, I guess, but I had so much like I had to have it work. I just had a baby. I lived in domestic violence. I knew that I had to get the heck out of there. And um, I think when you go in being like this has no option except to pay my bills and change the world.
Yes.
It gives you a different perspective and it keeps this fire under your tush that I'm grateful for, and I'm happy now that I've like shifted so that I don't have that feeling of like that frantic I have to pay the bills thing about it. But just saying, it can be a good motivator.
So you got started 20 years ago, and in the beginning, was that what were you doing to start off? Like, how'd you start?
Oh, I can like still super remember the moment that I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do. And I thought I was going to be a doctor. And then I had a baby and realized what my doctor did to me in birth was terrible and harmful. And I didn't want to do that anymore. So, and I remember having my daughter, like holding her, and just pacing, being like, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? What skills do I have? Like, I was a 26-year-old with a baby and no money and no family support, and so I knew I had to get very creative.
I think
And
that's the best way. Like, I think
yeah,
when we don't have that support, when we don't, like, when we have all the negative, is I think because it causes us to be so creative, it pushes up us up against the wall, and we're like, okay, we're able to see things that we wouldn't be able to see if we had all the extra resources. So I love that.
totally. I agree, Erin, because I had to look at like what skills do I have or what skills could I acquire very quickly. And like I ran down the list. Like I was like, can I clean houses? And I knew I wasn't going to shine there. I didn't have the skill set. I was like, no, like right away. And I needed something that I could have my daughter with me. And you can't
Yes.
wear your baby and clean houses for the most part. And so
Right.
once I went through the things, like I had to I had to make enough to live in Toronto on my own, which means a lot. I had to have my daughter with me. I had to feel good doing it. I had to feel safe doing it. And I realized, like all these, and I think a lot of women, this happens, but we have so many skills that other people would pay us to do these skills, but because they're so easy for us, we don't value them. Like,
Mhm.
if somebody could organize my fill in the blank, they're like, oh, but it's just easy, and they kind of like, we minimize these really incredible skills because we have so much value to like doctors and lawyers and these kinds of careers that you've dedicated all this time in post-secondary school to.
Really.
And instead I was like, okay, I'm really good at taking care of people. I feel really called to protect birth, and I went down these things, and I landed at become a doula.
Nice.
And then my next problem was my doula training sucked. And so I was like, oh, we need better doula trainings. And then I started a doula school,
Nice.
because I had my pre-med background, and I was like, I don't know. I'm also not very risk averse. So it makes you like really brave, where a lot of people are like, well, I should try it out and give myself
But
leeway. I was like, I
yeah.
need to have $5,000 a month starting next month to pay
Yep.
my bills. And I
Yep.
need to get out of here. And I bet on myself, and I'll
Nice.
always bet on myself.
I love that. Okay, so from when you started to starting the school, how long were you in the game before you started?
So I had my private practice for maybe 3 years, because I didn't fully identify the problem. So I think business is problem solving. Like right now, you're like, I want people to like dismantle the problem of fear around business. And so you're
Yes.
talking to strangers. That's really brave. You did it in your way. And so my first problem was the things I talked about. I need to pay my rent. I need to have my daughter with me, blah, 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 blah. Then I went to doula school. And then I realized the next problem was, they don't teach you how to run a business in doula programs. Yo, mine does. Side salad. But the other ones didn't. And
Period.
and so I was like, they don't teach you how to do this. So I was like, well, this is hard. And because, again, just I don't know, I have an innate gift at doing like understanding business, and I just see it as a game. I was like, oh, and so I started gathering up some other people and talking about all the things like, hey, that sucks that there's nobody teaching us how to do business. We don't know how to refer to each other. And I started gathering doulas up talking. Well, then my client roster, because I was good at what I did, it started growing. And so then I needed people to help me. Like I needed backups. I needed, like other people, so that it wasn't just me when they called my business line to get me. And so I started, at the time, I didn't know, but I was building an agency. And so then I realized I didn't want the only doulas I knew around me had done the same training I did, and it wasn't good enough for them to meet my
Yeah.
clients.
So you had
And
to
so
teach them.
I just started teaching the people that I wanted to work with. So again, they didn't pay me for it. It was
All
like,
right.
because you're going to work with my clients, you need to have this extra 4
Basically
months
out
of
of
training.
need. Yeah.
Yeah. And then other people started saying like, well, wait, how do you get that training? And then I started charging for it. And then I could only serve people in Toronto. And so my next problem, which was in 2012, was we wanted to move online. You guys, this was at a time when there wasn't Kajabi, there wasn't Teachable, there was no platforms to teach in the digital space. And on top of that, my market was like, you can't teach skills like taking care of babies online. You can't teach like medical skills online. You can't like all of these things.
They're
And
saying
so I
that
had to
you
build the ugliest platform. It was so clunky and ugly, where people could like log in and come to school. And so that was like the next problem, was like, how do we teach online? And then we solved that. And so when I look at it, because now I have students in 49 countries, we've had multiple 7-figure years. We've changed the lives of thousands of people and created jobs for so many women and queer folks. But like, it started with me with nothing as a 26-year-old solving problem 1, and then problem 2, and then problem 3. And I think what a lot of people, when they're like, I want to start a business, is you think you have to come up with the idea and try to sell it. And
Mhm.
instead, if every person was just like, I'm going to solve this problem and solve it in your way, because there's other people who are doulas, but they do their care in their way, and I do my care in my way. And we need to have that variation. And so whatever it is, you are solving somebody's problem, and then you don't have to sell it. You just have to hold it up as a solution, and people
Share
will
what you're
come to
doing.
you.
Yeah.
Yeah. But we keep thinking like, oh, what if I make cards? Okay, well, wait, what if I sell succulents? What if and instead do it from like, there's no nail
Wherever
bar
you're
in this.
at.
Yeah, like there's no one
Yeah.
around here doing nails. Maybe I'll do door-to-door nails. Like there's
Yeah.
nobody around here that's taking good family photos. I'm going to do family photos in the coffee shop. Like solve the problem. That's
Uh,
my rant at y'all.
really, because what happens is, or most people feel that everything just has to be crystal clear. It has to be perfect. Even if you do have a crystal clear vision and in your mind it's all set up perfectly, once you do it, it's completely different. And there's going to be like some issues. Like most of the times when I'm like, for instance, this podcast, I was literally just watching the video. God said, start the podcast. And I like found the, platform to use,
Yeah.
put out a message on Facebook, and that night I was up going live recording a podcast. I don't know what I'm
Ah,
doing, but
get it.
but
Get
as
it.
yes, but as we start, like we just figure it out along the way. So it's just like there's no, especially when starting a business, there's no you just have to do it and figure it out as you go, because when you think you have it, you really don't. You only know once you start it.
Yeah.
My little
And the
rant.
messy start, I'm like such a huge fan, Erin. Like I love the messy start because you don't actually know which parts are going to work and what's not going to. And so
Yep.
sometimes I even get stuck in this loop, y'all, like where I'll come up with an idea and then I'll spend all this time and I'll put it out and nobody wants it because I
Yep.
misunderstood. I misunderstood
Or
what my
even if they
community wanted.
do, if you don't like doing it, I have a rule when I quit my job that I'm not going to do work in business that I don't want to do. So sometimes I'll get that idea and I'll put it out and people are attracted to it, but I'm like, I don't want to do this.
I
Like
don't
I
like
don't
it.
like doing it. Yeah, and I just don't do it anymore. So it's both. It's on both ends.
Yeah.
Cuz
But the
we have to
messy start, you
enjoy
have
this.
to. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, you do need to like what you're doing. And like I didn't go out to build a doula training. I solved each problem, and in doing that, I made the best doula training. And I do take, like, I go look at other people's and I audit them and stuff, and they went to start a doula training, and so they like did all this work and tried to like put it out, or not a lot of work, I don't know, but all of them, you could tell that they were like trying to put out something perfect, and so it doesn't have that organic feel like of people being like, oh, I didn't really like that, or I loved that class, or I wish there was more of this or less of this. Like every year, so we have 3 semesters a year, and every semester is different because we got that feedback, and
Yeah.
it's changed. Like what my
Yep.
semesters look like in 2012 versus what they look like in
Not the same.
2024 are completely different because people have shorter attention span, people like things in smaller bites, people like discussions on different kinds of platforms. Like it looks completely different, and if I stuck with the same thing, it wouldn't
It
work
just
as
wouldn't
well.
work.
So
Yep.
in business, it's like it's this organism that you have to have the feedback. And so the messy start is like it validates your idea, because if you were like, I think I want to make greeting cards because your family gives you great feedback about your cards every year that you make for holidays, and they're like, you should do this as a business, because that's what people say when you do something well. And then before you go like buy a whole bunch of materials and stuff, like see if you can put them in the corner store, and if anybody buys them, or put them on Instagram. And if nobody buys them, you might need to rethink your business card idea, and maybe it's just a really nice thing you make for your friends and family.
Yep.
But before you like spend all this time and money investing in your business card idea, test it and ask people at the school, would you buy these business cards, or would you buy these greeting cards for $6? And then see if
See
it's
how it
worth your
works.
time and if it's a viable business.
I agree. So of your 20 years of working in this field, what are you most proud of?
Oh, I think my resilience, like to know that I self-motivated myself through all of this with like no investments, no sweat equity. I didn't have money in the bank. I just like really trusted. I trusted my why. And I honestly, Erin, I stand back sometimes, and especially when I get great feedback, or even when I just think about that I have students in 49 countries. It feels really important and profound, and it's never lost on me.
Love
Like
it.
that I built that. I did that. It's wild.
And growing, you're still growing, so we still have so far to go. What is the end goal? Like, what's the big plan, or is there one?
Oh, I would love to see all queer women and women of color and big-bodied women, that they are not harmed by our medical system. So I'm
Mm,
going to try in as many ways as possible, but until we see, Black women and gay women and fat women and young women and old women dying giving birth, then my work isn't that done. And
love
unfortunately, it feels like we're going backwards because the outcomes are just getting worse and worse and worse and worse. And so I know sometimes people are like hard to feel motivated in their careers or like their businesses that they're starting, because you want to watch Netflix, and if you don't have a boss, you could sleep in and you could go for lunch with your friends, or you could scroll on Instagram for hours. But every morning I close my eyes and I know at that moment tens of thousands of women and queer folks are being harmed in their in the hospital, and it gets me out of bed
that
every
gets you
day
going.
without fail. Without fail.
It gets you up. So did you have any other children?
No, I thought I was gonna have
No,
5, and then I fell in love with my business. I love entrepreneurship, and I
me
think
too.
that I like shout this really loud because a lot of times women feel um they feel like they can't say that they actually like their work more than parenting. And I really like talking about that because I just don't like the work of parenting. I love my daughter and I love the relationship of mothering. So that's like hanging out with her, guiding her, teaching her, holding her spiritual journey, like all of those things feels very important to me. But the work of mothering stinks. Like booking booking things, buying shoes, packing lunches, changing sheets. I hate that part. And so that part interrupts my work. I love the work that I do. And so
Yeah,
I realized that I was like, you can fall in love with your business and you can make this a really significant part of your life. But it means you only have time to do the relationship of mothering with one. And she's
aw,
pretty rad. She's going off to university next year.
nice.
Um, yeah.
Congratulations, mom. She couldn't have did it without
Ah,
you.
thank you. I know she wouldn't, but she's a rad person.
Nice. So for me, my business is my baby. So while you were saying that, I was just like, maintaining our business is a form of mothering. It isn't as tedious as being a mother to a live human.
Yeah.
But it's kind of the same thing. Like, I have no time to, and if I do, I have to force it, or I have to, I guess, put forth effort into it. But there's no TV, not much of hanging out. There's no, like, only time I really hang out is with my man. But other than that, like, I'm like focused on work all the time. Even when I'm with him, I'm still like working. So but this is
Yeah.
for sure my baby. Like, she comes first.
I love that you love it, and tell
Yes.
everybody that it's okay to love it, because the work that you do in your business, Erin, like you actually can see the benefit. Like you
Yeah.
can see the maintenance and the work that unfortunately we just got tricked into doing, and we call it mothering, but it's really like it's really servant work. But
Yes.
we call it all the umbrella of like that's what a mom does. Moms do all of these jobs, but it's a real racket. It's a real racket. And so I too can see that there's lots of work stuff I don't love doing with my business, like tinkering
Yes.
stuff. I hate doing the accounting stuff that I have to report to my bookkeepers. Like there's parts of it that I'm like, ugh, I don't
Yeah.
want to.
It's a very small
But
portion. But
it's a
yes, we
small
do have to do
portion.
it. It's like when it's time to do it, it's just like, "Ugh, can I just go sit on the
Just get
porch?"
it done.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. Can you share any advice that has made like a huge impact on your business?
Yeah, I would say you will require support as somebody getting into an entrepreneurial venture. Even like it's very vulnerable taking something that came from your mind, like an idea, because it's a piece of you, right? And so when people critique it or say they don't like it or whatever, it lands as an extension of us. And you have to have people to build you up through those moments, so that if somebody walks by your stand of cards and is like, oh, I don't really like those, that you don't hear it, like it will weigh heavy on you. And it's really easy to have all the people that will poke holes in your dream or your idea, even if it's like really small, because most people feel uncomfortable by change around them. So they like what you do. They like you in your 9 to 5 job. They like you not doing a brave thing. They like you not being creative. And it's not because they're mean, it's because their brain feels safe when you're
That's what
doing
they're
the same
used to.
thing that they expect of you. And
Mm-hmm.
so you'll probably tell somebody like, hey, I was thinking about becoming a doula, or hey, I was thinking of like starting a business, or hey, I was thinking of writing a book, whatever it is. Find the list of people, and they might actually be kind of strangers. Like, call Erin, call me, and be like, I think I'm going to start a book. And we'll be like, cool, go explore that, because that's exciting to us. But most people in your life will push you down, and they don't mean to. They love you so much. This is all they know how to do. So my advice, Erin, which I had a lot of preamble there, is find a few people that excite you and will be excited by you being creative in your life.
Yes.
That you imagining something different, because most people don't want you to do something different, especially something as brave as entrepreneurship. That they're, you know, that scares them. And it's scary when people are living their life in a different way and not kind of like on the hamster wheel. Also, don't jump off your hamster wheel as another piece until you have some viability in your business. So I'm all here for like the people that are going to build you up, but also make sure they're pragmatic. And so if you're like, hey, I think I'm going to fill in the blank of something that's really like takes a long time to achieve, and then you're going to quit your job, I hope you do have some people being like, hey, let's test this out.
How are you going to do
Because
it?
I
What's
hear,
the plan? What's the goal?
yeah, I hear lots of people like, anytime somebody goes to a restaurant or stays in an Airbnb, everybody thinks they can do it. They're like, oh, I could have a
Yes.
coffee shop, I could have a
Mm-hmm.
Airbnb, I could start a clothing line. And there's so much behind the scenes. If you've never been an entrepreneur, like what you see is just the tiny, tiny, tiny little part of it.
They see the
So make
bright
sure
light.
that, yeah, make sure
Yeah,
you
that's it.
know all of the moving parts before you start a soap company.
I agree. And another thing that I will add to what you just said, as far as recognizing your people, also be able to recognize the people that are discouraging you, so that when you do have those ideas, or when you do have whatever plans or goals that you have, to know that, okay, these people love me for this. I spend time with them to have fun, or whatever it is that they are beneficial to your life. But when you share your plans and your goals, make sure you just stay over there with that group of people that inspires you to do so,
Ooh,
opposed to the people that are
yes.
uninspired and that they don't have that. Because sometimes people
Yes.
just don't know. So they're just like, hey, guess what I have? Da, da, da. And they're thinking, well, this person loves me. They're telling me, right, let me not do it. And it's like, no, they just don't have the vision and they don't see things in that way. So you have to be able to recognize those people as well.
Yeah. And each
Um,
people, like different people have a different place. Like I play roller derby
mhm.
and I don't talk about my work. I
Nice.
don't think
My
I
Wait a minute. Wait, before you even go further. So my esthetician, my instructor, she was like so badass, but she played roller derby. And when they told me, I was like, what? Because she was like super cute and like she was just quiet. Like you would just never think that she did, but they said like she was one of the top players and everything. I was just like, how interesting. I used to love watching it as a child. Sorry to interrupt. I just had
Yeah,
that got me
no.
excited.
It does. It gets
But
me
go ahead.
excited. But like my roller derby community has a purpose to be my roller derby community. They don't really know what I do. Like some of them do who I'm a bit closer with, but like they know me as Pepper Pot. That's my derby name.
How
And so I
cute.
come and I like mess things up and I like work really hard and I cheer people on, but like I don't need them to understand my work. And so
Yeah.
some of your friends are going to be like the people that you laugh with or you watch movies with or you do those things, and they don't have to understand your work. Your family might
Yep.
not understand, especially if you do something kind of out there, like if you do coaching or you do like a service based, like if you're a Reiki practitioner, people are not going to know what a Reiki practitioner is unless you're in that world. And so
Yes.
just like you're going to have to shift and understand, if you take on this new identity as an entrepreneur, that like your relationships also shift, and that some people are not for that,
Yes.
and even really sacred ones. My wife and I are like, we share a lot, but there's elements of my business that I know she just doesn't understand, and I don't try to make our relationship complicated by like hoping she
Trying
understands.
to
She
force her
understands
to
to the
get it.
best of her
Yeah.
ability. Yeah, but she's an employee. She's like an employee to the core. Like, she's like, why would you ever want to not have somebody tell you where to be and what to do? And that's my nightmare. And so it took me a long time, because I was like, what is wrong with you? Do you not have ambition? Like, why are you like this? And I realized
It's not for
we have to have
everybody.
people who love the structure of being employees, so that those jobs are filled. And she, and we have to have people that love that like their mind having that kind of expansion. One is not better than the other.
It's
But
just different.
she thinks it's nuts that I just know what to do every day. Like, every day my day is scheduled, because I schedule it appropriately, because this is where I shine. And if she has a week where nothing happens, like, she's like, I don't know what to do next, which boggles my mind. But it took me landing that like not everybody has an entrepreneurial mind. In fact, very few people do. And you have to find people that understand what it's like to create your own schedule, and to be your own motivator, and to be your own boss. Because lots of people think that they want the freedom of entrepreneurship, but they actually don't know what to do with that limitless. Like, if they open their laptop, they're like, what do you do first? Versus
Hmm.
I know what I need to do first. And I can say, like, you have 15 minutes to get this done. And then you have a deadline for the next thing. Because that's how I shine. And so these are like, they're complicated concepts that are not talked about when we talk about business, which is why I love your podcast, Erin, because
Thank
you've
you,
managed
dear.
to have people share these kind of things that we should be talking about, and not like, do you need a lot of social media followers? Like, maybe you could also have a great business with no social media. And instead need to talk about, like, what do your relationships look like? Are you going to be able to be your own boss? Like,
For
do
real.
you have good discipline? Discipline is a really key part of entrepreneurship.
Yep. And if you don't know what to do, if you don't have good discipline, if you all these things that we're saying that you need, so one or two things will happen. So you'll either start doing it, you'll get to be disciplined, you'll get to figure out, okay, this is what I have right now, this is what I need, this is how I'm gonna attempt to get to it, or you're gonna quit being a business owner, you're gonna go back to work, or like you're gonna just focus your time and energy on, I guess, improving at your job. But if you're scared to do it, the only way to find out if it's for you is to do it. And
Yeah.
that's just figuring out the best way to do it according to you, the person, and what they have going on. Whether you have money to quit your job, or you have to stay at your job and you just need to, make things work the best way that you can. But being
Yeah.
scared and not doing it is it's not a thing at all.
Yeah, for sure.
What is the one thing that you would say, if there is anything that scares you about business?
Oh, lately, after the pandemic, I feel like something shifted significant, like lots of things did, but I haven't been able to quite crack what it looks like. And I've had maybe 18 months of doubt for the first time, literally ever. And so the things that had worked so perfectly year over year stopped working. And I think it was a good reminder to like remember that really creative 25-year-old energy, which feels a bit hard being in my mid 40s because I'm real tired. um, but I would say that there was like I'm very good at the pivot, but it felt like there was like 5 pivots at the same time, because normally there's like one major shift that happens, and then I love how comfortable I am with pivoting. But the world got real wacky there for a bit. I mean, it still is. And so it's forced me to not coast on what I knew to be true. And it's
Which
real terrifying, Erin. Real terrifying.
really, I think it
Yeah.
keeps us I mean, in the moment and dealing with, okay, oh shit, I got to figure out what I have to do. Yes, that is a little irritating, but I think it keeps us fresh and it keeps us up to date. It keeps us on our toes. It keeps our business like, I don't know, innovative. Like, so there's a
Oh, for
great
sure.
blessing in it. Yeah, there's a great
Yeah.
blessing in it, but I do understand the frustration that comes with it. But
Yeah,
it's
it was a bit
temporary.
stressful too because the pivot happened when my company was big. So like when I had a small company, the mistakes were small and they always were proportionately they matched,
Easy.
right? Like
Yeah.
and now I was playing in a seven-figure field and employed a lot of people, and so the creativity felt a little bit more back in like the early days where I was like, "Do you want to pay rent and get out of here?" And I don't like entrepreneurship from that perspective because at this stage in my life because I think that scarcity and that fear doesn't feel good and I don't create as well with it. A little bit of pressure I do like. I think we do well with pressure. I think the state of anxiety causes change. It either keeps you stagnant and suffering or it forces you to change. So I
Yeah.
do like a little bit of keeping me on the toes, but I'd say the major changes in the algorithm were very significant for entrepreneurs. And I know there's lots of people that are like, don't blame the algorithm. But they're the same people that like subscribe to hustle culture and like, if you just keep working harder, it will work for you. But I can say I'm very active in a lot of entrepreneurial communities with like very large numbers and people with a long history of healthy, consistent, sustainable businesses have had dramatic impacts. I've seen like it's so sad when I see businesses that I started with close now. But there's been so many businesses that have been harmed by the combination of the economy dropping and what the algorithms are doing. And I know there's others that are like, I'm a millionaire because of the algorithms. You just have to like figure out the hack. But like before, especially when you're doing community-based entrepreneurship, that like about the people, like I have a community like a free business support community that has, I don't know, it's not super big, but like 10,000 people in it. And
Mhm.
it was a place that like we had these kind of conversations all the time and it was open and it was so supportive. And even the algorithms changing in groups, nobody sees the posts anymore. So like I'll host a chat like this and nobody watches it versus
Yeah.
before because the only thing that's different is the algorithm because the community group has been there for 15 years or like
Right.
since started. And now we'll have like 7 likes on something. And before we'd have 3,000 people watch it and now one person sees it. And when I ask people like, why didn't you come to the talk or I saw your question and we answered it live, they're like, oh, I didn't see it. I
It
still
is.
can't see it.
Yep.
And so I think that it's really upsetting that the tech really allowed women and queer folks access to like the fact that we could just start a Facebook group and build a community and do that really well, which is what feminist business looks like. And that got like taken away, has done a lot of harm in helping and healing spaces and for women and queer folks in entrepreneurship. So thank you for coming to my TED Talk, but that's what I got to say about that.
That's her talking. She's sticking to it. What are you grateful for today?
Oh, man, I have a lot to be grateful for. I'm grateful for, well, I'm happy I get to be here. I love any time I get to talk about entrepreneurships to people who are curious about it. I'm really grateful that I do the work that I do. I'm grateful that I trust myself. I'm grateful that I know that I'll always be fine because I trust that I'm creative and resilient and ambitious. I'm grateful for my community, like so many. I'm grateful for the planet. I wish we'd take better care of it.
She's like everything.
Everything.
Nice. Yes. The young adult that you were, or the woman that you were, I don't know how old you were. But the person that you were when you first had your baby, you were trying to figure out how to start the business, to the woman that you are today. What would you have to say to her?
Um, I think I would really love her to know that there was going to be like really, really profoundly agonizing moments in that journey, both like personally and professionally, and that um see them as like the most profound, life-changing joy on the other side of it. Once you like go right through the like sloggy, yucky parts. But the first few felt like I didn't know how I was going to survive them. And now knowing, like, now when something really terrible happens to me, I'm like, well, this sucks right now, but I know that something incredible is going to happen on the other side. And
Yep.
so I think I would have loved to just provide that comfort, because I never doubt that. I know she was so strong. She was resilient. She was ambitious. She was creative. She was brave. And I still am those things. And so I think that would be like the biggest comfort that I could tell myself at 26 was like, you will survive those things, even though they feel, heartbreak is terrible. And they feel giant.
I love that. Have you heard or received any good advice lately?
Oh, I wrote it down the other day. I was listening to a webinar and I was like,
See, now it's time to share.
I know it's time to share. Okay, let me see. I wrote it at a place where I knew I would, I just think a good reminder. Here's one. It's a piece that I really like, but I think the way they said it, they had two pieces that I actually say all the time, but I liked how they said it. And so I liked how they said it better. My first one is, don't compare your chapter 1 to somebody else's chapter 25.
Yes.
And so comparison will like rob you all the joy from your entrepreneur adventure. You're going to look at whoever has 300,000 views, or like whoever's got all these follows, and whoever says they're making $300,000 a month. Like, it will hurt, and don't do it. So you are where you're supposed to be, and it's perfect. So that was one. And then when you're thinking of your business, the businesses that do the best solve one problem for one specific group. And I know that niching seems like so scary, because you're like, but other people could have this problem. But if you're talking to that one group or person who represents that group in your mind, and fix one problem, your business will have rocket fuel, because you will be the fill in the blank. Like, when people have this problem, like when your tire gets flat, you literally Google, Cal Tiger, tire 1, 2, 3, because they fix tires. And so you know exactly where to go. And sometimes some other bigger businesses might also fix tires, but you don't Google their names, because they do lots of things, which they can, because they're like a Walmart. But for you as a small business, you want people to know that if they have this, they go right to you and you fix it.
Yeah. So when you guys think of skin, think of Erin, Matilda's Corner, and come to me.
Yes.
What is the one thing that you would hope people would gain from being around you?
Oh, that they feel inspired and passionate about their lives. That they want to do something brave, whatever it is. It doesn't have to be start a business, but I love that I make people brave. And it might just be that they'll like tell their mom that their feelings got hurt, or that they'll, break up with a friend, or that they'll start a hobby, they'll come play roller derby, like whatever the thing is. But that they'll do something brave because I inspired them.
I love that. Well, Bianca, it has been a great pleasure speaking to you. Is there anything that we did not go over? Any questions? Anything you want to share?
Well, I made a webpage for your listeners.
Nice.
So that you can come check out some of the like cool ways to hang out in my community. We have a ton of free events. We do lots of stuff for entrepreneurship. So if you go to my website, babomia.com/getitdone, that's a page that is set up just about the talk that you and I had, and there's a discount code on there. And I'd love if you just check out what we're doing over here at Babomia. We'd love to have you.
I love that. Make sure you send me the link to that, so then I'll add it to the description for the listeners and the watchers. But again, thank you so very much, Bianca. It has been a pleasure talking to you. You'll be hearing from me soon. I'll be texting you at some point.
Excellent. Erin, thank you for doing this. I love the concept of talking to strangers and getting these kind of like really raw, organic conversations going. And you're making a huge impact for entrepreneurs. So thank you.
Thank you. Have a good day. Talk to you
Bye.
soon. Bye bye. Let me see if I do it this way. All right, I did it. So episode 50. Today was episode 50, but it has been what would I say, these 50 episodes? They have been extremely inspiring. They have been I've been learning a lot, and I'm having a lot of fun. I am enjoying and have always enjoyed being able to talk to people that have taken the idea that they have in their mind and creating and developing whatever it is that they dreamed, the thing, the vision that they saw before it came to life, um, which is the greatest, for me, has been one of the greatest joys of my life, being able to take whatever idea I have and like watch it come to life. It's been life changing, I would say. I am still looking for male entrepreneurs. Out of 50 episodes, I have interviewed 2 men. So if you know a man, if you are a man that is in business, I would love to have you on. I want to hear from the guys. Like, the women are out here killing it, like hands down. The women are out here doing it. They're getting it done. And I am so inspired by each and every one of them. But the guys, where are you guys at? If you are watching this from YouTube, please subscribe. If you are listening on Spotify, on Apple Podcasts, follow, review, comment, whatever it is, the thing that it'll allow you to do, please do it. And share this podcast. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for listening. Don't forget to thank God for your blessings. Don't forget to say your prayers. Don't forget to take care of your skin. I will see you guys. I have another episode this evening, so I will see you guys later. Bye.